Alrighty, so I'm going to be saying things in this video like stop in your practice and work on that. I mean at home later. Don't really need to have memorized anything from our lesson today. So cool. The very top one on your page was just me explaining tablature, so those are just random characters. We got the first chord in the song, which is E or E major, 6th string, nothing. Middle finger here on the 5th string, ring fingers under it, your first finger there. You know, when we're sizing a new chord up, you're just going, okay, 6th string, nothing, 5th string, middle finger, 2nd fret, ring finger under it, first finger, and boom. And just remember what that felt like. It's like these two, and then this. Cool, so there's that. Just pause your video or whatever, and just make that chord shape. Be sure that you're just touching. That's why I should my back is jack. Make sure you're touching one string per finger, which means that you're coming straight in at the strings bent kind of the wrong way at the first knuckle, which is something you were doing intuitively. Something you were not doing intuitively was having your thumb in the right position. You were like this, making the this thing, whereas what we wanted to do, like we talked about, is just grab the whole instrument, thumb over the top. There are times where we're in classical thumb position, and you'll find books that would say you're always like this. Totally depends on what you're doing. For now, when we're playing these first position chords, we're going to be in thumb over the top position like that. And you know what happens? You're going to be touching the instrument like this part of your hand too, so you're out in front of the instrument. But you need to be in a position where your hand's not quite touching the first string with your palm. So, you know, right now, just make that E chord shape at home in your practice, which totally doesn't matter what you do right now at this particular moment in time. And, you know, just pick through one note at a time and make sure everything's ringing out. Don't need more of I'm playing in rhythm because I can. It's just a list. You can just be like however long it takes. And the noises you might hear are that's either I'm not pushing down hard enough or one of my fingers is touching multiple strings. Particularly your ring finger might end up on the string beneath it. So just stop and get okay, I'm actually successfully frying all out, push down really hard, it should feel difficult. Anyway, this thumb grip again, if you're doing this or like this or any of that stuff, you're gonna have arthritis. This should feel like physical exertion, and ouch, my finger, like we talked about in the lesson, that's just what's up. So, you know, my thumb's hooked over at the top. Awesome. And in our song, our strumming, so now let's just, theoretically here you could just go with open strings, but ideally you just keep pushing down that chord. Right hand wise, we talked about how, as opposed to how the guitar looks, like we just done there, it's going to have a bigger range of motion. Like here's me strumming stuff. We can see that I'm going like all the way up to here and all the way down here. So it's, and what we're achieving there is getting all the strings with the same amount or comparable amount of velocity. Down has more wrist to it than up does. You want to make sure it's not all arm, though there will be some metal and rock stuff that's all arm or all wrist. So yeah, like kind of, you know, so right now before we even try to play rhythm, just put, you know, get that chord fretted and just try to go down, up a few times, not even worrying about playing exactly boom, boom, like I just did, just like it's like after I strum down, I strum up. Cool. And the actual strumming pattern that we're doing in this song goes down, 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 up, which sounds like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and which you totally don't have to count if you can hear it. Troubleshooting, you and everyone, after you go down, down, it's going to seem like the next strum should be up. It's not. We start with 3 downs. Down, 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 up. And that's the strumming pattern we're going to be playing for every single chord in this very small song we've created, where there are 2 total chords, or I guess 1 pinky and another chord. So right now in your practice, go for I can do that once well. Like, okay. And again, it's key that you're consciously focused on what you're doing, not guessing. So now pause your video and get to where it feels like you can actually do that one time through well. Now do it twice total well before we start looping it. That's just going to mean you go. Twice up, you know, rather than going straight to looping it. You know, you're holding your pick correctly. We want to make sure it's between our thumb and forefinger, and yeah, that's all good. Like about that much sticking out. You were doing it correctly during the lesson. So now you've done it twice. Before we worry about any other left hand stuff, Now just do it a whole bunch of times. Right, like every Johnny Cash song ever. Wait till that actually starts to feel like it's something you can do, then you might feel, ouch, my left hand, and start messing stuff up over there. That's fine, as long as you're on the right fret, right string. If you start getting, and like we were talking about during the lesson, when you're not sure what's going wrong on your left hand, picking through one string at a time is how to figure out what's going on there. So, great, stop and just be the grand champion of just playing that strumming pattern sitting on one chord. Awesome. In our song, it's actually going to start with doing exactly what you just did 3 total times. And then we got this new chord grip, which is actually just a variation on what we've been doing, where our pinky comes in here on not the first string, but the second string, 3rd fret. And that's the chord E7. And that's on, we wrote that on the page. It's the 2nd chord shape. Everything else is the same. And then I circled this note. It was like use your pinky for it. In our song, we're going to do that the 4th time we strum. So it's going to be 3 of these. 2nd time. 3rd time. So now you're going to be the grand champion of just exactly that, pretending that the song ends there. Kick-ass. Now the hard part. There's this other chord in the song, A7. Let's talk you through that. Your pinky's going to come off, not literally. Your index finger is going to come off. It's still possessed. Just fucking around. Word. So then the whole thing is going to move down and spread out. Like your middle finger is going to move down 1 string towards the ground, but your ring finger is going to move down 2 strings. If we look at this on the page, it's like nothing, nothing, 2nd fret, open, 2nd fret, 2nd fret. And again, it's a 7th chord, which sounds all crunchy and bluesy like that, as opposed to major or minor. It's like just a blues style. In tune now. Cool. So, like we talked about in the lesson, now you're going to have an excruciating 15 minutes max of going E to A7. And the key thing is that you don't guess. You need to be consciously focused. If it takes you 5 minutes the first time to find your way back to E, that's fine. And then, just painstakingly trying to move towards being able to do it all in one motion. Troubleshooting what your brain may do is, at first your brain might want to go, these 2, then this one for E. You'll find yourself as opposed to doing it all as one shape.
Okay.
I'll finish what I'm talking about. Well, just the first chord we learned, even. At first, most people go this, then this, whereas in reality, we need to be able to do it all at once. If you find yourself going like this, the way to make yourself do it all at once is flip it. Make yourself do it the other way. Just troubleshooting beginner stuff. So similarly with this chord, you'll probably find yourself going this, then this. But in reality, we want it to all just move. So just painfully just be like, oh, I'm going to move. This is difficult. And, just one good one. Yay, I did it. Back to E. One good one. This will be the boring part. Not so important that you push down the most here, but we kind of want to be pushing down as much as we can all the time since we're building up muscles in our hand, wrist, and fingers that we need for everything we're going to do. Spend some time on that. This is the not fun part. But that's the hard part, is how do I do this fast? And so the best we can do is zero in on left hand wise. And we're going to be doing stuff that your right hand already knows how to do when you get to that chord change for the first time. So there's good news, which is that you have this open strum. Right now we're going to pretend that the song ends at the first strum of A7. Got that first chord change, meaning it's like the thing we're doing. So not the thing where there's this gigantic pause. And let's slow it down quite a bit more, and I'm just going to start with the last E thing with all 4 fingers. So on the very last strum, I've already actually split on the way to the next chord, and I'm hitting no chord or an open strum. So it's going to be like. So there you go, and that's what you're doing in your practice right now. It's just E7, just the very last, measure of the E stuff going to there, as though that's the entire song. You don't need to play from the beginning because you already got good at that, so we're just going the E7 thing. that successfully. So just zero in on that section and pretend the song begins and ends there. That's the hard part of the song, aside from you'll have to go back to E when you get to the beginning of the song. Cool. So there you go. Stop and get really good up to there. At about 10 minutes into your video, we're going to finish up what we're doing. The good news is that the rest of the song is you go back to E, which we've on purpose had there just be two chords in the song and one little variation on it. So our whole thing sounds like I'm doing this super straight on purpose. I'm going to do this twice. The second time, back to E. Twice. That's the end. So it'll be back at the top. So it's 1, 2, 3, maybe 2 of these, 2 of these, and then you'll be back at the beginning. So our purpose it begins and ends with the same chord. So we have to learn just one total change, and you'll need to go through the same process for going back to E, but it'll be easier. And every chord change you successfully execute, the next one will be exponentially easier. If not easy, it'll never be as difficult as it was this first time that you did a chord change. So there's that. The other thing that we did, and you can play super slow. The tempo is not really important at all. I suggest that you do play slowly and then speed up. Hey, we had this capo thing, and we were going. So we had this. I'm just hitting the 6th string. So I'm going to go ahead and take my capo off. If you get one, you can put it up on. We're going to sound like what he's doing, but it'll just be instead of. We'll just go. Which still sounds like what he's doing. So we hit the 6th string just on its own, which is going to be like down and away from the instrument. Right hand wise, before we do the hard part, then you hit the 3rd string. So just. And this is going to be that hammer on pull off thing we did. Before you try that, let's just go picking the note each time, down or up, doesn't matter. So just kind of do that a few times until you can do it, and then just without worrying about rhythm, let's just go. Cool. But in reality, what we're doing is this thing where you hammer on, which is moving in really decisively, and then just taking it back off decisively. So, and that should seem that's the high end of what we're doing. But during the lesson, you kind of got it like the 4th time you tried it. So we're on the 3rd string, 1, 2, 3. We're using our middle finger. Excuse me. So as long as it's 2 decisive movements where you push down really hard and then just move away decisively, it'll sound. And that's just like our one little trick fun thing we can do. So we're going. So just kind of work on that until it gets easy, or you could just zero in on the. Given you can probably go. Because going is not a high degree of difficulty. Yeah. And then we have this at the end, which is just your middle finger goes right back to where it was in this E chord, the first chord you learned. We had 2 strings, and then just the A string, which is the 5th string. So that's the Jenka, it's boom, buddy-a, Jenka, boom. So it's those then. So. And if other strings are ringing out, it's cool. So there we are. Rather. And I'm purposely sounding other strings by accident, which we're cool with. So ideally like that. Just 1 string at a time. It's hard to do this slowly though. So there you go. Just fucking with you. Alright, good stuff. Enjoy.